around the Colosseum, I think, but yeah. Alright everyone, we're in the private residence now, which I know it's kind of hard to imagine what it looked like. I think one of the main problems is you don't know how high the roof was, how high the palace was. To give you a bit of a clue, if you look over in that direction, you see sort of behind this tree, back in the distance there, that bit of flipping concrete just sticking up above the trees. Okay, that was the height of the roof, and that is also the outer corner of the palace. So it actually stretched from those trees at that height all the way over, actually to the trees on the other side. Okay. Yeah. Now, not only that, we're only on the upper level, it was 2 stories. There's another floor underneath us that's the same depth as the stadium, goes all the way along this side. So it was actually all linked with little tunnels, stairways, different sections of the palace. The other thing is that they wanted to get as much natural light in their houses as possible. So they would put in open courtyards, plan it out really carefully. So this, where the tree is in the middle, that you had an open courtyard there. And there was a little temple out there, a private temple for the emperor. But also it served a purpose, because you can see that bridge going across. You actually had a pool of water there, and that meant that as the sun moved around throughout the day, the sun's rays would bounce off the water and would light the rooms adjacent to the courtyard. So really good way of getting sunlight bouncing throughout the house. Here it's done on a big scale. There's about 4 or 5 of these big courtyards. There's even one on the lower level, which they put next to the stairway up, so you could light the stairs going upstairs. So they planned it out really strategically. But if you go into any ancient Roman house, so for example, if you go to Pompeii, all houses in Pompeii have the same layout. They always have an open courtyard in the middle with a pool of water in, and it was just for the same reason. It's just to get sunlight throughout the house. Okay. Right. Also here you've got some of the original flooring. Basically, a lot of people imagine ancient Rome to be sort of plain white marble, but it's not true. They used to get different colours of marble from the east, the Mediterranean, from Egypt. So reds, blues, greens, purples, they would actually make these sort of very funky patterns. Most important colour was purple. Purple was the imperial colour. Only the emperor would wear a purple toga. He always put a lot of purple stone around his house. So here you've got some of the original flooring, which has been a little bit weathered, but if you pour water on it, you can start to see how bright some of the colours were. So you've got to think this was put down about 19 centuries ago. It would have been really bright, and it was like this over all of the floors, the walls, the ceiling, everywhere you looked. This really kind of psychedelic, headache-inducing kind of decoration that they went for. So this is what you've got to imagine around the rest of the house. Okay. Right, we're going to go to another courtyard now. So if we can go there, we're going to go around this way.
Okay, when was all this built? Around 1900 years ago?
This was 81 AD, so yeah, first century. Yeah.
Thank you.
When the emperor and his family lived here, how many other people?
A lot. A lot. Thousands of people lived here probably. Yeah, slaves. Minions, servants, and yes, all that. Took a lot of running, you know, big house. I think they should rebuild it all, restore it all exactly as it was.
Really?
Yeah, and let me live here. Actually, I'll put an escalator in for you all so you can come up. Alright everybody, now this section is the Domus Flavia, so this is actually the official residence. Same idea, you've got the open courtyard in the centre here, and then you had a dining room up there, then a throne room, a courtroom all around the outside. Now Domitian was emperor for about 15 years, not a very nice guy. Okay. Not one of the nice emperors. Domitian actually had a bit of a superiority complex. he thought that he was a god. And he wouldn't let any normal people touch him because he thought he would be corrupted. So he wouldn't actually touch anyone. But also, for example, he went for dinner with Domitian at his house. You'd come into the dining room, yes, and you'd all sit around on the floor. Domitian would sit on a raised platform at one end so that he could look down on everybody else. So, of course, not many people liked him, and he started getting very, very paranoid. Domitian thought that everybody was trying to kill him. So, what he did, all the way around the walls of this courtyard, he had it all covered with a type of marble called Cappadocian marble, which is very reflective, it's like a mirror. And that meant that all day, every day, he could sit in this courtyard, and he would always be able to see behind him if somebody was running after him in the dark. Okay? So, did that for the last year of his life, and then, unfortunately, Domitian got so paranoid that he started to kill anybody he actually thought was plotting against him. So, any servants, any slaves, any friends, any family members, just got them all. So his wife, fearing for her own safety, hatched a little plot to his servants and actually had him. Now the other thing to have a look at is just over here by the bin. Not the bin itself, the bin's not original. I did tell everybody once this was the original bin of the palace, and some people took photographs of it. So it's true. When they excavated the Palatine, a lot of stuff they found, statues, mosaics, bits of fresco, they put in this grey building. Grey building was originally built as one of Mussolini's offices, right in the middle of the Imperial Palace, so a bit of a statement. That has now been converted into a museum, so there's a little Palatine museum there. But a lot of stuff like this they're just left lying around. So this came from the original palace. This was actually one of Domitian's door frames. Okay. Nowadays you have an inch of wood around your door. Domitian kind of wanted something a bit more elaborate, so he had this around all the doors of this huge palace. It has this little design on it that you see all over the city, which is called the egg and the dart. If you look, can you see that egg shape with the arrow in between? It just goes all the way along, repeated. Now, egg and dart symbolised life and death, and the ancient Romans put it on everything they built. So archways, temples, doorways, windows, tops of the buildings, little egg and dart trims. So if you, for example, walk through the Roman Forum, if you look up and look around the buildings, you'll see egg and dart on everything. Now, not only that, during the Renaissance they went back to all the ideas from ancient Rome, so they started to use this decoration again, which means that if you walk through the city centre of Rome, look round the doorways, the tops of even the churches, even the Vatican and St. Peter's, completely covered with egg and dart. Okay, so if you're here for a few days, please spot the egg and dart as you walk around, and you will see it everywhere. Now I know you're all thinking, nah, it's not true, I haven't seen it yet. I said the same thing the first time I heard that. I said, I've never seen that before in my life. I went home, it was around my front door, my window, and the top of my wardrobe. So it's actually everywhere in the city. All right, we're going to go walking up towards the trees over there. Okay. All right, now everyone. Does anyone know what kind of leaf this is?
Green.
Green is true, but any other? It's a bay leaf. Okay, you can smell them. Now, what do we use bay leaves for nowadays? Cooking. Yep, soups and stews and things. Now, they had bay leaves in ancient Rome, but they didn't use them for cooking. They used them for something else. Do you all know what? Okay, this is better. Close your eyes. Imagine that you're going to one of these big banquets. Okay, they had in ancient Rome that went on for about 6 or 7 hours, about 8 courses, and of course you're going to wear your best toga. Okay, ladies, you wouldn't have actually been allowed to go, but we're going to pretend in this case. Now, there's a lot of free-flowing red wine at this party, and you get a little tipsy, and you spill red wine down your toga. So you need to wash it. What are you going to use to wash it? Urine. Now, urine is full of ammonia. It will get the stains out. So, what you would actually do is go home, boil up a big pan of urine, put your toga in it, and it will come out stain-free. Fantastic. Now, you imagine a nice, hot, sunny afternoon in Rome. Everyone's doing their washing. Rome starts getting really smelly. So what they actually did is they planted bay trees all the way through the Roman Forum, the city centre, so that while you were just out doing your shopping, chatting to your friends, you could also pick off a few bay leaves. You'd go home, crush these up, put them in the pot with the urine. The smell of bay would overpower the smell of urine. So they just used it to mask the smell. Okay. Bet none of you are going to use bay leaves for cooking anytime soon. Brings back bad memories. Now, urine was very, very important for this reason in ancient Rome, so much so that the guys who worked at the public latrines actually used to siphon it off and sell it on the black market to make some extra cash. Emperor Vespasian found out about this little scam. He put a tax on urine. They did actually tax it. He made a lot of money from this tax. All the money that Vespasian made, he put towards the building of the Colosseum. So, sorry if you're here for a few days. Every time you walk past the Colosseum now, you're probably going to think of urine. Okay? We're not going to talk about this anymore. This is the only disgusting part of this tour. However, I bet when you all wake up tomorrow morning, this is the only part of the tour that any of you remember. Now, you will have noticed we've come out of the palace. This was the outer wall of the palace. So you actually had, yeah.
Who paid the tax? Those giving or those getting?
Those giving. It was to pay to use the bathrooms, the public bathrooms, which you still have to do in Italy actually, and it's where the phrase "spend a penny" came from. Actually, extra information there. All right, this is the outer wall. You had columns all the way around the outside here. Domitian didn't build on the other third of the hill because there was actually already a palace here. Emperor Tiberius built his palace overlooking the Roman Forum. Nowadays, you're not going to see a lot of Tiberius's palace. We're going to be standing on top of it, and that's because, as I mentioned before, basically, after the fall of Rome in the 5th century, the Palatine went into complete ruin for about 1,000 years. In the Renaissance, they decided to carve up the land up here and give it to the 3 major noble families here in Rome. This third of the hill was owned by the Farnese family. They decided to build a really nice little garden up here, and they actually sort of levelled off the top of Tiberius's palace and built the world's first botanical garden on top of it. So, we're going to walk through a bit of the garden here where you'll see little buildings that were aviaries, orange trees, fountains, but the palace is all still down there, and they've had a bit of a job trying to excavate it because they don't want to destroy all of the garden. But it does mean that when we get to the balcony in a minute to look at the forum, if you look sort of directly underneath your feet, you'll see the facade of the palace because it is all still down there. Okay. Also from here, I'm going to tell you where the exit is, because we're going to go and finish and talk about the forum, and I'm going to leave you there so you can spend as much time up here as you want. But when you want to leave, you don't need to go the way we came, because that's the tour route. Just at the end of this street, there are 2 buildings that were used as aviaries. Just on the left of that, there are some steps going down. Just follow all the steps down, it will bring you directly into the Roman Forum, pretty much back to the Colosseum. So that's the quick way out afterwards. All right. In the meantime, though, we'll go and have a look at the forum.